Tutankamun, deceased. This is called a bar bird. Now, when the pharaoh is deceased, they have what's called the bar bird, and the bar bird takes on the personification of the pharaoh. So in the afterlife, when he's reborn, the bar bird knows who to look for. And this is the representation of Tutankamun. That's Horus, the god of the sky. Horus, who lost an eye, the eye of Horus, the protector. But in the next lecture, you will hear a bit more about him. The alabaster jars, just one of many. As you can see, we've got the two ladies again. One of the pectorals, a scarab. We've got Isis and we've got Nephis, the two protector goddesses on either side. The two ladies with the wings outspread. These alabaster lamps that were found, the ibex, absolutely beautiful. The people who've been to Cairo and seen these, hopefully it'll bring back memories for you. There were even trumpets found in there, silver. This was gold, as you can see, inscribed. If you go onto BBC website and ask for a recording from 1939, this is the actual trumpet of Tutankamun, which played a sound. But unfortunately, again, in the revolution, you can see this is what happened. One of the trumpets disappeared. Again, that's never been found. And one of the statues was smashed. This is a gold and ebony trumpet, and this is a wooden one. But this is all precious stones again. I mentioned KV 55, the tomb that Howard Carter found, and they found a sarcophagi in it, and they thought it was Tut's mum. It wasn't. There's a theory it was his grandma or his father, Akhenaten. Nobody's ever proved who it was. This is all wood, gold foil across it. Again, there's that capstone of his probable mother, Queen Kia. This is alabaster. This is another little statue. It's a strange statue, this one. As you can see, he's got a bit of a tum. But he's also got the elongated feet of his father. And he's wearing the blue war crown. Again, this is another statue that vanished and has never been seen since. This is that statue that you saw a few moments ago that was smashed, and he sat on the head of the goddess Nephis. And this is the damage that was caused. I mean, this kind of thing, once it's damaged, there's no way you can repair this. It can never, ever, they can restore it, but it will never, ever be the same. That's just a few of the cases that were smashed. Jewellery was taken. They found quite a lot of pieces. There was about 893 pieces in total actually disappeared, and I think they've regained about 600 of them. But the most precious one, the ostrich feather fan, has never ever been seen. This was the damage caused to one of the solar belts. Needless vandal, that's all it is. Anubis, the god of mummification that was guarding his canopic jars when Howard Carter entered the burial chamber and beyond. There he is. Again, this is gold. He's got gold ears and he's got gold claws at the front. This little writing set belonged to Princess Meritaten. She died at the age of 14. And this writing set was placed between the paws of Anubis. And it was also placed into the tomb with Anubis when all this was placed in after his burial. His famous writing set here, and this is another one. So obviously he was literate, he could read and he could write. This is that box 21 I showed you, took 3 weeks to empty. As you can see, it's absolutely amazing. There he is, out on his chariot. It could be the chariot that killed him. We'll never know the answer. There's all the Nubians and the enemies along here. Just a few more boxes. This is gold and lapis lazuli. Now, his great-grandparents, Yuya and Thuya, were found by Theodore Davis, who held the rights. And he found some fantastic treasures. And this was one of them. And it's a perfume box. Oops, I've gone a bit too far. And it's a perfume box. And this is lapis lazuli, and this is gold. The collar I told you about, you saw in black and white round Tutankamun's necks. Percy Newbery worked on these seeds. These are all seeds, and he actually worked out that the death of Tutankamun occurred in April, just mainly due to the seeds on this floral collar. One of the petrels that was round his chest. This is the more famous one. This was actually out on loan to America when the revolution happened. And this one was as well. And there we have Horus, the sun disk, the Ankh's longevity of life, and the sign of infinity. This again is gold, covered in precious stones, lapis lazuli, cornelian, turquoise. A few more rings. Another petrol collar. The scarab, which is to do with the heart. This, they say, was the one that he wore more than anything, because on the back was a clasp. And what they think this is the vulture, one of the ladies. And she's got her wings outspread, and she's got the sign of infinity. So this is one that he would have worn on a daily basis to protect him. This is a female goddess as a cobra snake. This is gold foil. Again, the snake is a protector. The gold flip-flops that you saw on him yesterday, and the gold toe caps. I think a few of the toe caps disappeared. The slippers didn't, but some of the toe caps did. The two little coffinettes I told you about, box 317. That's the god Ptah. Now, he's the god of Memphis, and Memphis is the ancient capital of Egypt, which is now Cairo. You can always tell him because he has this blue skull cap on that looks like a swimming cap. But he was a very important god. And as you can see, he's got the backbone of Osiris there, which the hieroglyph for that is a djed. This is the box that held the canopic jars with the 4 goddesses round either side. But you can see it's badly damaged along here. Again, this is all gold foil. It's a better view of it. You can see the colours on the top with the Uraeus snakes. And this is a view of one of the goddesses. These are the 4 canopic jars that hold the innards of Tutankamun. But you can see the detail on his face. This is the Nemesis headdress. He's got the Uraeus on the top. And these are all in alabaster. And that's the box that holds them. Again, you've got the 4 goddesses on each corner, and you've got the winged sun disk for protection. That's the top. And there's his cartouche. One of the many chariots you saw in the black and white, they were all broken when they went in. They all went in pieces. And they've restored them. It could be this one that he fell off. Obviously, as I say, we'll never know the answer. But he was a great hunter. And this is the detail that was on the side of these chariots. There he is as a sphinx. And his enemy there. Again, this is precious stones. We've got the Ankh. We've got the goddess Wadjet there with the sign of infinity. So obviously he was well protected, supposedly. That's another detail of the enemy. I mean, we couldn't find workmanship like that in this day and age. And when we're talking about 4,000 years ago. They didn't have the tools and the implements that we have today. Just one of the many shields showing Tutankamun wearing the red crown of Upper Egypt. That's that little mannequin I showed you. It's another statue, but this time he's lost the flail. One of the pectorals that was round his neck. Here we have Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess. We've got Ptah, the god of Memphis, and we've got Tutankamun. That's the scarab to do with the heart. But as you can see, it's also the cartouche of Tut. We've got Neb, Keperare. Kepre stands for scarab, the beetle in the hieroglyphic language. Another one of the alabaster lamps. This is the magic lamp that he and his wife used to light of a night time. And you can see Tutankamun, Ankus and Aten. They'd lighted the wick with the oil and it would shine through of the both of them. They do say they were very much in love, which is unusual in those days. There it is lit. Another alabaster lamp. Another box. One of his many mirrors in the shape of an ankh. As you can see here, we've got precious stones and gems again. The rest of it is gold foil. My favourite, the makeup jar. This is alabaster. Absolutely wonderful, this little thing to look at. There he is. Just some of the Ushabtis that went into the afterlife. There were a total of 413. A Ushabti is a servant. When a pharaoh is deceased and he goes into the afterlife and he's reborn, he needs people to do the work. So these Ushabtis came to life and they were the servants for the afterlife. The gold throne that you saw, it looked nothing yesterday. This is what it actually does look like. Again, you've got the goddess here, the protector. There's him and his wife, Ankus and Aten. And this is the Aten. It's just one sun and the rays of the sun that come down. One of the many stools, this is mother of pearl, but as you can see, he's got the enemy under feet again. So as he sat on the stool, he crushed the enemy. His famous game, Senet, it's very similar to chess. This was found in the tomb because, of course, in the afterlife, he needed everyday items that he had in this life. The famous flip-flops with his enemy on the bottom, so as he wore them, he crushed the enemy. This came off the body that was in the coffin. Another one that was found, the crook and the flail and the gold hand pieces. That's the crook and the flail. This is gold and lapis lazuli. These are them other little statues that were seen in boxes where he's on a panther. Different stages of his crown. That is supposed to represent a crocodile on the Nile, which of course they don't have these days. There's the panther. But unfortunately, again, that's what happened. And the last word I got from the Egyptian Museum is they are trying to restore it, but it'll never, that's as close as they've got. It'll never ever be the same. The shrines, 3 in total. They all went in flat packed. So forget IKEA and MFI. The Egyptians beat them to it because all these went in. If you've been in the tomb, there's a lot of people been in the tomb. Who's been in there? It's tiny, isn't it? And when you think of all this that was found in there and these huge shrines, they all went in flat packed and they were built round the sarcophagus. Again, all this detail is absolutely fantastic. I mean, but then I'm biased. There we have Tutankamun and Ankhesenaten etched on the side. Another side of the shrine in a different pose. That's the first shrine that was found. And this measured 5.8 metres by 3.28 by 2.75. It was 32 millimetres thick, and it almost entirely filled the whole of the burial chamber. Sloping roof. This is what you saw with Howard Carter as they were raising the roof yesterday, and then underneath there was the pal. This is what's in there now, and he's actually back. He's in this one here. He's been sealed for eternity. As I said the other day, that tomb is now closed. You will never ever gain entry to that tomb again. They have built a replica next to the Howard Carter Museum, and they've also made a replica of Tutankhamun's mummy. So the tomb is now closed for eternity, so we will actually get peace. This is the coloured coffin, the second coffin. Absolutely magnificent, this one. Can you imagine the detail on that? It's absolutely wonderful. It's 2.4 metres long. They still don't know what wood was used, and it was an overlay of gold foil, and all the precious stones were laid on top of it. And that's how it looks from the front. There he is, the Nemesis headdress, the uraeus, the crook and the flail, and the signs of infinity. Absolutely beautiful, this. The gold coffin, there's Dr. Zawi Hawass. The gold coffin, solid gold, and it weighed in at 110.4 kilograms. And if you do a conversion of today's value, it's worth nearly £4.5 million as scrap value. It's never ever left Cairo, never ever will. That's another view. The death mask. It's left Cairo once in its life when it did the world tour. Did anybody see it when it came to Britain? Yeah? Absolutely magnificent, isn't it? Absolutely wonderful. It's solid gold inlaid with precious stones. It stands 21 inches high and weighs around 11 kilograms. Again, this is worth something like £4.2 million. It's never left Cairo again, and it never ever will, because it can't be insured. Cannot be insured. We've got the royal beard. This is all gold. The uraeus. All the precious gems round the side. When I worked in the Egyptian Museum, I used to spend all my dinner hours just going and studying this mask. Here's all the hieroglyphs of his titles and spells for the afterlife. But again, you've got a theory. Was it made for Tutankhamun, or was it made for a female? If you actually look inside the mask, you can see where it's been made bigger. And there's a hole where it would have had a bolt through it. That's a clearer detail of all the hieroglyphs and the spells. That's the side view. If you saw the black and white ones, you saw the imprint of the diadem on Tutankamun's head, and this was placed on top of the diadem. And it was on so tight, they had to warm the tomb up to be able to ease the mask off. Dr. Zawi, people were alarmed when they heard of the break-ins at the Egyptian Museum, and just to prove the death mask was still intact. That was in February 2012. This is the diadem that you saw that had made that terrible imprint on the skull of Tutankamun. It was pressed down so hard, and then the death mask placed on top. His mummy. This is when they did the scan, and this is when they found out he died of blood poisoning of the crash, and he fell, he broke his knee, and obviously in them days he didn't have antibiotics. There's the most famous tomb in the valley, KV 62, King's Valley 62. There's the 16 stairs that Howard Carter found. The sarcophagi. The four goddesses again, protecting. But you can see the damage on the walls. This is mould. There's only 3 walls decorated, and they really are in such a bad state that they cannot keep this tomb open any longer. It will be completely destroyed. You can see better here. All the damage. This is when they raised Tutankamun to go for his scan to find out who his father, his mother, and how he died. Back in 2004. And there's his skull. He also had this elongated skull that his stepsisters had and his father had. This very elongated skull at the back of his head. WV22, West Valley 22. This tomb is the tomb of I. Now, I was always blamed for being the murderer of Tutankamun. When Tutankamun died, I married his wife, Ankhesenaten. Ankhesenaten disappeared from history, and he became pharaoh. Now, his tomb, WV22, is almost identical to Tutankamun's, and it's 3 times the size. Again, the theory goes, was this originally made for Tutankamun, and did I usurp it and put Tutankamun in that tiny one, and to make amends, fill it with all these treasures? A lot of the things have been etched away, so you can't make out the cartouches. The sarcophagus that's in there is almost identical to Tutankamun's in his tomb. The drawings on the wall are almost identical. But again, it's theory. It'll go on forever and a day, this argument. And there is I. Now, I was an old man. He was supposedly the grandfather of Nefertiti. But he wanted the power. There you go, the walls are very, very similar. The baboons that tell the hours of the day and the night, the same as what's in Tutankamun's tomb. No different. But again, it's all supposition. Until we find something in writing, people are never going to know. It's like everything else that scientists and Egyptologists and everybody else argue about. This was when they placed him on display in his tomb. There he is. His tiny little feet and his little head. I actually got this at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it cost me £2.50 to get in. But as you can see, but he's now back in his coffin for eternity. The representation of what they think he would have looked like as a young man. Because remember, he was only 18 when he died. Very, very effeminate. And they've reconstructed this from his skull. And of course, box 317, the 2 little babies that were found in the tomb. The DNA proves they did belong to Ankhesenaten and Tutankamun. But unfortunately, Both never survived, and one was mummified. This is the one that was mummified, and these are the little coffinettes that they were in. And that's the little one. Say they're in Cairo University Hospital, and that's where they'll stay for the rest of eternity. So that's basically the treasures. Obviously, I can't go through everything. I'll be here for the next 3 years. You can access all this online. The Cairo Museum now have a website. You can actually go in, you have a Dropbox. You can find any piece in that museum that you like. It will give you the photograph, where it was found, when it was found, who found it. So it's well worth looking at. The Silver Pharaoh, Persenues I. Fascinating. He was found here, in Tanis. And he was found in the end of the Second World War, but obviously the World War was far more important than what came out of Egypt, out of a hole in the ground. And it was discovered by a Frenchman, Claude Monet. And he found this tomb and he went in. As you can see, he's got through here. And what he found was this. And it was a silver coffin. He didn't know who it was. He couldn't find anything to sort of say what pharaoh it was. But it was almost identical to Tutankamun, except it was silver. Now, silver was rare. Gold was plentiful. Gold came from Nubia. Gold was the flesh of the gods. Silver was a rarity. And inside was his mummy, and they've pieced him together. But his treasures were almost as comparable to Tutankamun's. The gold, the rings, the bracelets, necklaces, even down to the petrels. Sign of infinity, the vulture. Canopic jars containing his innards. Toe caps, ushabtis, gold dishes, silver dishes. There's an example of it with all the carvings in the centre and the hieroglyphs around the edge. More petrels, gold slippers. There's another petrel. The two goddesses either side, the eyes of Horus, the protectors. This was gold, made of 40,000 rings. Solid gold with life, health and stability. The hieroglyph symbols there. The eye of Horus either side. Bracelets. More bracelets. More petrels. And this is right next door to Tutankamun's treasure room. Nobody ever goes in there, and it takes all of about 5, maybe 6 minutes to go around. But it just gets bypassed, and everybody heads for the death mask and the coffins. There's his death mask. Absolutely wonderful to look at. Wearing the Nemesis headdress. And he reigned way after Tutankamun. But what was so strange about him was this solid silver coffin. And what they actually found a cartouche of Ramesses II. Now, Ramesses II had a town, Ramesses. So they do think that he usurped these coffins from Ramesses II. He's a lecture I'm giving on the last day. It's absolutely beautiful to look at. Gold, solid silver. The coffin that contains his innards is Horus. Again, all in solid silver. There's the face mask. This necklace, a closer view, as I say, all gold. Pure gold. There's his cartouche of Senues. And there he is, reconstruction of a grumpy old man. He ruled for 46 years. Apparently he was a very good pharaoh. There isn't a lot known about him, just all these treasures that were found in his tomb. And that's the last look at the death mask of his. So that's basically your precious items from Tutankamun's tomb. As I say, I only have 45 minutes. You can imagine I haven't got time to sort of show everything. The next one, which is I think next Friday, the next sea day, is called Well, I Never Knew That. Now you all need to put your thinking caps on because you're going to take part. And it's all about ancient inventions. Every one of us use these inventions every day of our life, but you never stop and think where they came from or who invented them, and you'll be quite surprised. If the last lecture I've got to do is the morning we come into Venice, if anybody wants one on any particular item, the pyramids, hot chicken soup, Hatshepsut, the tomb art in the Valley of the Kings, please let me know and I can put one together. So it's entirely your choice. You can either have one on Ramesses II and maybe another pharaoh, or you can have anything you want. If you let me know, and then I can put one together for you. I hope you've enjoyed this. Any questions, please just ask me. And thank you very much for coming, and I hope to see you at the next one. Thank you.